lessons for much longer. The funny thing is, my dad discovered Butler on a list of the best summer camps, so good job, Dad. And that just proves how small decisions can alter the course of your life forever, or at least for the next few years. If I hadn't gone to camp, I wouldn't have taken riding lessons. If I hadn't been taking riding lessons, I wouldn't have gone to the school, and if I hadn't gone to Butler, I'd probably be going to some regular school in DC. I'm not going to lie, the past 2 years of my life haven't been the easiest, but they were also the most eventful, and I learned many lessons. I wouldn't trade that for anything. I remember over the past 2 years when my friends back in DC asked me where I went to school, and I actually explained it to them in depth. Their response was always something along the lines of, "Wow, you're really lucky." I remember thinking, yeah, I am. I am one of the 25 kids lucky enough to go to Maine, Boston, Pennsylvania, New York to go camping and explore new places. I'm one of the 25 kids not only lucky enough to get a good education, but to advocate for myself, to come out of my comfort zone and have independence. Well, a good amount. We're middle schoolers, y'all. The trip for me that was the most enjoyable was a spring trip because we already knew how to do a lot. I will always remember going down to the bay to get water in the morning, talking with True, our counselor, making fires for meals as a group, and the group campfire at the end of the camping trip. Also, shout out to the hotel we stayed at in Providence. Those waffles were top tier. Although the trips were memorable and awesome, I'd always feel like I was driving home on the bus back to school. I will never forget going to the woods at recess and running around outside with my classmates. The pond will always have a special place in my heart, especially the fallen tree that I used to climb. I climbed it when I was sad, happy, angry, literally everything. That tree knows my secrets. I even wrote a poem about it because it was honestly pretty inspiring. It still grew flowers and leaves, although it had fallen down. It still looked toward the sun and persevered. That's what I wanted to be like. Then I realized I was. And although the tree was awesome, it was Butler who helped me develop these qualities and values. On that note, I would like to say thank you to a few people. First of all, thank you to my classmates, especially the 8th graders. We didn't always get along, but I think you all are cool people with a lot of potential. You taught me valuable lessons that I will carry with me for a long time. Thank you to my sister. You are and always will be my best friend. Thank you to my parents and grandparents who gave me good advice and always supported me. This is going to sound weird, but thank you to my music. It got me through a lot of really hard times and motivated me when I felt my worst. Lastly, thank you to my teachers. Q. I would survive if I was stranded in the woods a lot longer than I would have before I came to Butler. Also, you have the best stories. Miss Madigan, you came up with the most creative projects, and your outfits were really cool. You're part of the reason why I love art so much. Miss Madalena, you haven't been with us for a while, but you are in spirit, and everything you taught us helped us become the people we are today. We love you. Senora, you were the perfect mix of hilarious and strict. 70% of the Spanish I learned was probably over the last 2 years alone. Mrs. Daly, you somehow made math fun and explained things a lot more clearly than many other math teachers have had. Mr. Jones, or Mr. Ford, you came up with the coolest lessons and you had a great sense of humor. This class worships you, literally. Finally, thank you to Miss Robin. You were like a teacher, a therapist, and a parent all in one. You were one of the few adults, besides my family, to impact my life greatly, and to impact the lives of all the intermediates. We'll never forget Queen Robin and her pearls of wisdom. Okay, I promise this is the last thing. If you all didn't already know, during the Butler play/Night of Dreams, I freaked out and walked off the stage. It was by far one of the strangest things that has ever happened to me. Nonetheless, there are a few lines I wanted to be heard. I'm floating. I'm watching my life from the outside. The best memories, the worst ones, the ones I don't even want to see. The friends who come and the ones who go. All of the first moments, my first steps, my first day of school, my first performance. My entire life is contained in a single snow globe, yet seems too large, vast to even begin to understand. That girl now standing before you, on the empty stage, is smiling from within. She is happy. Her dark eyes glow with wisdom, with experience. You were never lost, she says to me. In conclusion, the past 2 years of my life have been amazing, and Butler has been like a second home to me. Looking back, these 2 years have gone by so fast, and honestly, thinking about the future terrifies me. I don't want to grow up, but I know all good things in life eventually come to an end, or lead to another good thing. Change is inevitable, but without it, I wouldn't have ended up here. So thank you, Butler, for teaching me about staying true to myself and preparing me for the years ahead. Saying bye is bittersweet, and I know I've only been going to school here for 2 years, but I will miss you guys so much. Thank you.
When we began the commencement preparation process, I reached into Miss Robin's hat and pulled out a little slip of paper with conclusion written on it. I was stuck. I had absolutely no idea what to write down. So I asked myself, why? Why do we get together at the end of every school year and talk about our experiences? What's the point? Well, it's to commemorate the year that has passed. To take a moment and look back on the year we had and forward to the year to come. To take a moment and remember all the experiences, the emotions, the things we learned. To celebrate all the moments that made up this amazing, incredible year. The trip moments, the school moments, the funny moments, all the moments.
There were so many things that made this year completely unimaginable, and so many people who made all the moments possible. We want to thank the 8th and 9th years for welcoming us to the community. We will miss you and wish you good luck in high school. We also want to thank our parents for making it possible for us to have such unbelievable experiences. Lastly, we want to thank our teachers for all the work they put in to make the trips and all the other undertaking things possible. Thank you.
Our 3 graduating 9th year students will be giving a TED Talk style presentation on their Butler experience. As future 9th years, we have the honor of introducing these 3 amazing students. When I started the process of writing the speech, I asked my classmates, what's the first word that comes to mind when you think of Max? And almost every person I asked answered funny. No matter the situation, no matter the place, Max will never fail to make you laugh. Whether it's a funny voice or a gangster Elmo impersonation, he is the clear and obvious class clown. But there's a lot more to him than just his sense of humor. When we were on the spring trip, there were some disagreements, or for lack of a better word, drama. At a certain point, there was a big disagreement, and by the end of it, we were all upset, angry, and in tears. But I remember clearly that Max immediately noticed something was wrong. He came over to where I was sitting and asked me, what's wrong? He sat there and listened as I told him what had happened and how I felt about it. He told me what I needed to do to fix it, and eventually he helped us clear up the argument. That day, he taught me the important lesson of how to view a situation from the other person's perspective. That was the first moment I fully realized how kind and compassionate Max can be. This year, Max is one of our 3 9th year students who are graduating. He is hardworking, a hilarious comedian, serious when he needs to be, and there for you when it counts. We really appreciate him because he's an amazing role model, not only for the class, but for me as a rising 9th year. He's made an impact on this community, and we will miss him greatly.
As an 8th year who's known Ken since 1st grade, I feel more than qualified to give this speech. Even if we weren't always close friends, we were in the same circles most of the time. It also helps that he's always been my brother's friend. Through sleepovers and hanging out at my house with Max, and school trips in the intermediates, I've gotten to know Ken and all of his silly, cool, and athletic qualities. You all may know Ken as the father in Mary Poppins, in which his performance was fantastic. However, what you don't know is that backstage during a costume change in which everyone else was on stage, there was a mini wardrobe dilemma. Let me set the scene. It's dark backstage, and the music for Precision and Order is blasting. I'm in the left wing waiting to step on stage when Ken runs up to me. Speed walks really, because we are not allowed to run backstage, with Grady, a recent graduate, close behind him. Both are obviously in distress and are whispers shouting at each other. They're both talking so fast it's hard to say which one of them says it first, but I hear, "Can you tie?" As someone who can tie better than most of the guys in class, and not to brag, but I say, "Yeah, why?" "Oh, thank God," Ken says, and in true Ken fashion, he does a quick prayer. This all happens in the span of 10 seconds, and we both have to be on stage in almost half that time. So I start untying a misshapen excuse for a knot, and retying it the best I can. So in conclusion, Ken now knows how to tie a tie. And these years with him in the intermediates have been inspiring. As a future ninth year, I look up to him, and I promise to try just as hard to be a role model for the next 7th and 8th years. Although this will definitely not be the last time I see him, I know we'll miss him next year in the intermediates.
The first step toward writing an introduction speech for a graduating student is always to make a list of what comes to mind when you think of that person. When I was making my list for Brooke, the first thing I thought of was nature. Brooke was the chicken manager last year and set the best possible example for Katya and I, the chicken managers this year. I've only known Brooke for about 2 years, but it definitely feels like I've known her longer. My favorite memory I had with Brooke was back in 2020 when I first visited Butler. I remember Brooke was one of the kindest people I met that day. When I walked inside, she came up to me and asked me if I wanted to see the chickens. I left school that day telling my siblings and parents about my new friend. So, I'm going to be telling all of you about Brooke and the impact she made on Butler. Brooke is one of the most nature-loving people I have ever met. She's always outside, whether it's working on the farm, playing basketball, or at the chicken coop. Whenever someone asks her her favorite thing about Butler, it's always the nature. She has a bond with everyone, whether they're her closest friends or just a classmate. We can always count on Brooke to help out with farmer's market, baking on Friday, or afternoon jobs. She and the rest of the 9th years have set an amazing example for us who will be 9th years next year. Brooke. We will all miss your energy, willingness to help out always, nature knowledge, and most of all, we'll miss your kindness and empathy towards everyone. We wish you the best of luck in high school, and we hope you'll visit us soon. Now, please welcome the 3 graduating 9th years. Max Yuen, Ken Kamazawa, and Brooke Palmer.
Today we're going to take you on a journey through our life at Butler. All of our Butler years were full of amazing experiences that we want to share with you all before we leave. We can't share every great moment we had because for Ken and I that is 12 years worth of amazing moments, and for Max it is 8 years full of great memories. We hope that you find our stories interesting and know that we love everyone for creating this life for us because it would not have been the same without you. I started my first year at Butler in 2012 when I was 3 years old. I was wearing this awesome jean jacket outfit, but the first couple of minutes of that day started off with me kicking, screaming, and crying because I was getting dragged out of my car by a random person that I've never met before. But after going into the classroom, seeing all the materials, and making some friends, playing in the sandbox, I actually had a great time. And that's also when I met my best friend, Ken. All the Montessori materials help children so much to learn because it's so much easier when you have stuff in front of you to see instead of having to imagine stuff in your head that you don't even know.
My life at Butler started in the year 2012. And what I read for my first day at Butler was absolutely nothing. But what my mom told me is that I walked down to the class of Miss Wolf and Miss Garrison, and without even saying goodbye, I immediately walked into the class with my first friend ever, David Kulik. During my time as a primary student, I enjoyed every single second of my life. Some of my favorite lessons were the metal insets, the pink tower, and blocks. Some of my key memories at the primary were getting my first ever ball, which started my love for soccer. I love primary, and I'll forever remember it in my memories for the rest of my life.
Some of the trips that you went on when you were in primary was to the ice skating rink. I feel like this was a great thing for kids to learn because it helps kids control their bodies. You have to stay balanced, know where your arms and legs are going, and this helped a lot in the classroom because it made kids more responsible and not flailing their arms around.
During our years in elementary, we spent the majority of our time probably researching and planning going outs. Some of the most interesting going outs we planned were the Smithsonian Natural History Museum, and it was a wonderful experience, and we had the opportunity to research and plan and communicate to our chaperones who will pick us up and take us to these going outs.
Going outs are such a big part of the elementary experience and are really important because it really teaches you how to research and plan a trip as well as anything else.
My first play that I ever did was Toys. That was a really small play, but it's actually what got me interested in theater to begin with. My next play was The Nutcracker and then Bailey and the Bees. Those were all small plays. But in 4th grade, I did my actual real play at the Black Rock Center for the Arts, where I got to do Alice in Wonderland, where I was a sassy flower. The next year we did Aladdin, where I was just a background character, but it was still really fun. In 6th grade was when lockdown happened, so I didn't get to do a play. But then in 7th grade, I also didn't get to do a play. But in 8th grade, I got to do Mary Poppins, where I was the evil nanny. And 9th grade, unfortunately, I also didn't get to do a play. We were going to do Beauty and the Beast, where I was going to be Beauty, but our music teacher unfortunately got sick.
Plays are such a huge experience. It's a huge part of Butler, and it really teaches us how to, public speak, and it really helps with anybody who might have a fear of public speaking, and it's really the reason why a lot of us today can come up here and give these speeches.
So MMUN has been a huge part of my life, as I was the first 4th grader to attend MMUN back in 4th grade. During MMUN, my first year, I was extremely nervous. But once I reached the podium and started saying my first words, I knew everything was going to be okay. This year, Max and I had the opportunity to take a step up and become bureau members. We spent 12 hours online taking an online course, and then once we arrived in New York City this year in March, we had the opportunity to look and teach the younger delegates on how it was. And at the same time, we learned how it was to be in the bureau.
MMUN is an amazing experience, especially as a bureau member, because you get to take all the leadership that you learn from being in the intermediates and being at this amazing school, and you get to put it into helping other kids, learn, and it's really amazing.
My first ever trip that we did was in 7th grade, our spring trip, where we went to Gettysburg, Harper's Ferry, and Antietam. We were studying wars, and that's when I learned that I should always pack more blankets because I was freezing the entire time. That was also when the potato incident happened. Some of you guys will know about that.
In our 8th grade year, we had the chance to go to San Francisco, and in San Francisco, we had 2 days where we researched in our groups, and at the same time went to Angel Island and Alcatraz, and there's where we got to research the immigration and how it works, and specifically the Chinese and Japanese immigration.
We also, during that trip, we went to the Redwood Forest, where, as you've heard some stories about, we had some emotionally intense nights there. But this year, we got to go all the way up to Maine. But first, we took a stop in Pawtucket, where we learned about different eras in American history. So each group got to explore, and it was really amazing. And all these trips really are the reason that everyone is so close in the intermediates, because it really allows you to have that time with everyone to bond, and it's really amazing.